Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. This is week 2 of our kind of sort of sci-fi dive.
A side dive?
A side dive, yeah. Say hello, Jeff. There's Jeff right there.
Hey, how's it going? I'm here for the side dive.
For the side dive.
Yeah.
It's like this side dive competition. Not really
you guys
competition, but
you
I
guys aren't
was trying to put it in with the Olympics, but then that doesn't make sense because the Olympics are over by the time you're listening to this episode. So Anyway, Chuck, hi. We heard you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I was going to say you're not going to make it to the podium with that reference, but
yeah.
Hello, everybody.
We are talking about kind of an odd one today. The 2016 movie Midnight Special, directed by Jeff Nichols, who coincidentally has a new movie in theaters this year, The Bike Riders.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one, too. You guys didn't see it yet,
I haven't
right?
seen it yet, no.
Okay. It's pretty good. I liked it a lot.
I'm very excited to see it because I like pretty much everything that Jeff Nichols has made. I especially like Take Shelter. That's probably my favorite movie of his. But
I think I have seen exactly 2 of his movies now. So
okay. But he was also Oscar nominated for Loving, the same.
Yeah.
I think was that 2016, the same year as Midnight Special? That's odd. I thought that was later. But
I think this movie was like sitting around for a few years.
Exactly. It was shot in 2014. So this was made before before Kylo Ren became famous and then released after.
Well, the same thing with Jaden Martell, I think. The kid, or no. Is that the kid, Jaden Martell?
He's in It.
Yes, and that's like a year later, and he looks like 5 years older.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, although kids that age change their parents like that, you know.
But he grew like 4 years for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he grew some inches.
Yeah,
he was probably 10 in this, I would say.
I'm not sure. The character was 8, but I'm not sure how old he was.
But yeah, this is one I have seen before. I've probably seen it, I don't know, a couple times now. 3 times. Might have been the 3rd time. I like, this is one of those movies that I like for its tone more than anything. It's got just a really cool vibe to it. And it's pulling a lot of different styles into it. I feel like a lot of different literary and film references into it. But it also manages to be its own thing.
I was getting a lot of vibes of what if Close Encounters dropped off E.T., but E.T. was actually like a human instead of a little goblin, and then but then it goes off into its own direction, right? So it's like it certainly has it looks and feels a lot like Close Encounters, but the drive of the movie is keeping the thing safe, like E.T.,
Yeah, it's I kind of described it to Susan because she didn't know anything about it. I kind of described it to her as it's Cormac McCarthy's The Road, right? Like it's that father and son against the world kind of narrative, but with a very Spielbergian, we must get this thing we don't understand back to the place it came from, right?
Yeah, I do have some questions about the parentage and stuff.
Yeah, that's where this movie kind of is faulted in some ways. It's a little underwritten, I think. I think they could have given you a little bit more to chew on, especially with the parents, especially considering like the heavy thematic theme there the heavy theme there with, fathers and sons and mothers and sons in a family unit that has been torn apart, right? I feel like there's still there could have been some more emotional impact in that dynamic that doesn't fully pay off for me.
Yeah, there's some stuff also with Sam Shepard that feels a little half baked.
Oh, he just kind of drops out of the movie.
Yeah, he disappears.
Too.
Yeah, he just disappears.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I did ask. So Chuck, was this one you had seen before? Because technically you chose this one. So
Technically, I did choose this one. Yes, I had seen it. I think I watched it like when it was released to home video, like whatever DVD or whatever Blu-ray at that point, I guess. But yeah, it's one of those movies that I was like, oh, this looks, or maybe Jason probably mentioned it to me first, but it looks like an Amblin film.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying with E.T., like those old 80s Kids in Trouble things we kind of gravitate towards. So I do like kind of like Super 8 as well, like it mostly for its tone than a lot of what is happening. Super 8 might be a little more fleshed out than this overall. Because this is almost just a road movie, right?
It's very much a road movie. Yep.
It's just a road movie with some reveals coming that all of them don't make exact sense, but it's still fun. I think like I enjoyed the reveals.
And to keep in kind of like keep the idea of it being E.T. going, right? In a lot of ways, it's like you pick up E.T. in the third act.
yeah.
Right. and you kind of have to learn what the hell is happening along the way, right? Which is really one of the things I love about it. I like the way the story is structured in that way, where you're kind of learning things. Nothing is spoon fed to you, right?
Right.
You don't need necessarily all of that exposition before you get to the point where you're dropped into the movie.
They could have very easily have put like 4 paragraphs on screen before the title.
Totally.
But no, they didn't. I mean, and it's like it didn't. That's one of the great things about the movie that I really like was because of that it cooks. Like it's not a slow movie. Even when it slows down, it's not a slow movie.
It sort of has like the intensity of last week's movie, right?
Yeah.
In that sense, like it's pretty much doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it keeps ramping itself up a little bit. Yeah.
I also think it's kind of funny. It's kind of the opposite of last week's movie too, in the sense that Sunshine is real bad for this kid. At least we think for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, so no, but yeah, it cooks, and you're kind of into it right away. I didn't sit around saying, okay, why do I care right now? In the first 5 minutes, I'm like, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we got Michael Shannon, we got Joel Edgerton, who both are fantastic in this.
Yes, they are.
And we've got a little kid that's reading the Superman comics. It's like, I'm in. Let's go.
Well, yeah, and it's cool that way, the way that it drops you in too, because Elton, to keep the ET theme alive, is under a sheet the first time you see him. Too.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Almost like he's dressed like ET on Halloween.
Yeah.
But you're dropped in, and Elton, this 8-year-old boy, has been abducted by these 2 men. And you really have no idea, like the first time you watch it, are these evil men? Are they good men? Because supposedly his parents, Elton's parents, had called in this abduction, which of course you find out later is untrue, obviously. But yeah, there's this boy, Elton. He's under a sheet. He's wearing his little goggles, reading. I don't know if he's wearing the goggles yet, but he's under a sheet with a flashlight, reading comic books.
And he's got noise canceling
headphones. That's what he has on at that point. Yeah. And those are for a reason, obviously, too. But then Michael Shannon, whose character name I'll mess
Roy
up.
Tomlin.
Roy Tomlin bends over to him, and you're still kind of in that mode. Like, are they bad guys? Have they really abducted this kid? But the way that he talks to him, you're like, okay, this is either he's a really nice abductor, or everything is not what it seems here.
Yeah, there's something there, right? Like it's like, okay, well, because Michael Shannon can cut a mean expression on his face where you're like, it's like, oh, it's like fucking Zod's taking this kid away. And it's like, wait a minute. But he never, I mean, like there are a couple of times where he raises his voice at Alton, but he's not a like there's a reason why he does it. It's not a temper thing. It's just you got to be careful because we're now out in the open sort of thing.
My kid walked away from me at a baseball game once, like legitimately walked away from me at a baseball game and disappeared. If you heard me yelling that day for my child, you'd be like, that person's going to kill their kid. But it was all fear and fear on my part that made me yell like Michael Shannon does in this movie.
Yeah. And there's one very specific moment that he does that where it's like, oh, he's really upset. Yeah. And it's when they're at the truck stop, which we'll get to in a bit. But anyway. So yeah.
So we've got like three different storylines in this movie as well. We've got this place called the Ranch, which is fascinating because I don't feel like you get enough about the ranch.
I want a whole movie of the ranch.
I know it's so interesting because like were they crazy religious before Alton, or did Alton make them religious? Were they just like a normal community, and then the emergence of Alton made them like this hyper fundamentalist like religious cult? And that's kind of part of like the impetus, I think, maybe for Roy, who we find out is the true father of Alton.
Yep.
But I don't quite understand like how the ranch, Pastor Calvin Myers, played by Sam Shepard, how he was able to adopt Alton. Like, not all feels real murky. Like, I feel like
I have a pretty good idea on how that happened.
Yeah, okay. I want to hear what you think, Chuck. Here,
I do too. One.
I think Alton was such a handful because of his growing powers, his eye stuff. Like, his parents just didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah,
they couldn't take care of him anymore. They couldn't handle his situation, so they went to, I don't know if they went to a church or something to try to get help. And then it kind of devolved from there into them giving up the kid because they couldn't take care of him. That would be a lot.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. we know for sure that Kirsten Dunst is a member of the ranch, or was a member of the ranch.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because she has the braid that the women have, and she kind of dresses in that weirdo cult way, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know, you look at, she's absconded. Yeah. But because when the FBI comes to the ranch, which that's a pretty good scene too, because like they're like, one, you called us because of a missing kid. Two, what's with all these guns you have?
Mm-hmm. Well, the ranch didn't call on the missing kid either.
Yeah, the ranch didn't call it in.
Oh, that's right, because he calls a couple of guys.
Yeah,
who I'm pretty sure killed the Kirsten Dunst's mom.
Oh, for sure.
They might have, yeah.
Yeah, but no. So it's like, did she join? Were they both members of the cult, or are Roy and Sarah? I believe Sarah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Are they estranged because of the cult? Because she joined and
I think they went to the cult for help, and then Sarah ended up leaving, and Roy stayed to keep an eye on the boy.
Okay,
that's the way I read it.
That could be too, because obviously he would have had a lot more access. You can't just go busting into the ranch with all those guns around and getting the kid.
Oh yeah, he was there the whole time. I think they that he was watching him for 2 years. So
Yeah, because Lucas said that he showed up, and that's how Joel Edgerton gets involved, is that they just showed up. Hey, you're my friend. I need help.
Yeah, it was an old friend from growing up or something. Yeah.
That reveal in this movie about his profession is like one of my favorite moments.
Oh, yeah.
So
because we've seen him do some things.
Yes. So
it really drives home his
moment.
Well, that of course, but it's his motivation, right? Like his dedication to this. Yeah,
he's so good in this. When his eyes tear up, my eyes tear up too. I'm like, that's how good he is in this movie.
He's
like, I'm sad now,
man. I would watch anything with Joel Edgerton. He's so good.
Yeah, and I kept thinking, oh, it's the guy from, like when I see the name, I always think, oh, that's the guy from Avatar and the shitty Terminator movie and which one, right? But the one that was really bad, and then like the really bad Clash of the Titans movie, and I was like, oh no, and then I was like, oh wait, no, that's not that guy. It's like, all right. It's like, I'm back in movie.
What's that guy's name? Funny. That's not Eric Bana. It's I get it mixed up with Eric Bana.
Is it Sam something?
Sam Worthington. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Sam Borrington, more like.
He's pretty not great.
Damn.
I've not really liked any of the movies I've ever seen him in. So,
Yeah.
Anyway. This
What's
movie is full of people that I've seen movies that I like and people that I like in it.
For sure. So the third thread, Jason, is the FBI and the NSA, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're the likely candidates that have called. Yeah, the government. they are someone from the FBI likely called in the apprehension or the abduction because they have been watching the ranch because some people on the ranch have been gathering guns. But all of these groups, Tomlin, the ranch, and the FBI, they all seem like they could be nefarious at some point in this movie. So you don't really know who has the kids' best interest in mind for a little while.
Yeah, we don't get enough of the ranch to know really what it, because like the one thing that Sam Shepard, the first time you see it, he reads off the numbers, the coordinates, which I thought was like, that's weird. It's like, in fact, I was like, did I hear that right? And then when they responded, I was like, yeah, they're reading off numbers. Weird. Okay. But then we don't really know if like, do they treat the kid well? Do they, it's like, we don't know enough about them before they're dropped from the movie.
Except for the members of the cult who seem to have a great fondness for Elton.
The members certainly do. I don't know about Pastor Calvin.
But I think they're all getting something from him.
Yes.
Too, that we learn about from the character.
Well, we find out
first stop. Yeah.
They all have they have a date. And they're convinced that on that day, if they're with Alton, that they will be saved in some way. They have taken the Seizure route to belief.
But the FBI may be a little concerned that it's a Jim Jones sort of thing.
Well, not only that, but they have discovered that they somehow have been intercepting NSA radio transmissions.
Yes.
Satellite transmissions. Mm-hmm. And they've been incorporating those into their sermons. And they're like, well, how in the hell do you have these? Right?
Not only that, they're being decrypted too, somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the last thing the church has gotten is a date. So that's like one of the they've kind of now they feel like it's the end of the world or the apocalypse or the rapture or whatever is going to happen when this date comes. The FBI and NSA, they're like, they don't really give a shit about all that. They just want to know how the hell somebody, some way, is intercepting and decrypting our secure messages. And
that brings in Adam Driver.
Right. Yeah. He's NSA specialist who starts kind of just asking people questions, like what's going on here.
Yeah, and at one point, like the FBI agent, like just basically turns to him. It's like, yeah, now you're the expert on Alton. It's like because nobody else knows anything, and it's like you seem to have some, some sort of intuition about him. So I guess that makes you our expert, which he's pretty good at sorting it out pretty quickly. So yeah.
So yeah, and he's it's sort of interesting because I won't mention next week's movie title yet, but it's kind of interesting thematically how similar they are in some ways.
Yes.
This science and faith and how the two things, faith and spiritual realm, I should say, like God and science, right? And how maybe they're the same thing and can be the same thing, perceived in the same way, but just used and deployed in different ways, right? Because this movie is built around spiritual experiences. That's the whole reason why Joel Edgerton is involved. Roy and Alton just show up at his door, and Alton shows him something, and he has no choice but to help him after that because of how powerful that experience was, right? So it does have that tinge of some sort of Messiah-esque being, right?
Right.
And you're not really sure which way it's going to go. All Roy knows is that on this day, and he not only a date, but he also has a location, that I have to bring Alton to this location on this day. That's all he knows. But he believes enough in his son to know and feel that this is what his son needs, and his son is capable of like communicating to people what he needs in very transcendent ways. Let's put it that way.
Well, again, here we go with E.T. again. Because at one point with E.T., he calls home. He phones home.
Yeah.
And what's the whole chase, the third act of E.T. about? Getting him to that spot. That's what the whole game from Atari was getting him to the spot after you phone home. And, so it's like, and it's like, okay, something is going to happen at this spot and we know when.
To make it more confusing, is, yes, you could definitely immediately getting that ET vibe, right? But
it's a different thing that I'm really trying not to say.
And even Alton doesn't know what he is, what it is, right?
But he gets shown here in a little bit what he is and what that is.
What's interesting about all this too, and like we'll talk about next week as well, kind of, is that you're never really certain about what is faith and what is science, right? Like because what Alton is receiving, we find out very soon, is radio waves, right? We know he's intercepting satellite transmissions from Mars. No, I don't know where the satellite transmissions are from, but he can start reciting what's on the radio.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
The satellite transmissions are all human transmissions.
Right. I know.
I know, but that's the thing. Like, that's the interesting thing is something is communicating to Alton via man-made transmissions, but in a way that they're patterned. Right.
And
you get the sense that you get the sense that he might just be a receiver and people are taking him the wrong way until the movie, right?
Yeah, until they get to the truck stop, in which you learn, he can send it back too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway,
but even then, you almost kind of feel like he's like a superhero who gets too charged up and has to release the energy every now and then, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like he doesn't understand what he is. He's a receiver, but you don't even necessarily know how he communicates with people. or if he's even controlling that, right?
Right.
It just feels like it's a burst of energy that he can't control. But when he does it, there's an understanding by the people who experience it. At least there's an understanding of gravity of the situation, and that Alton is important, right?
And if they do it too long, the world starts to crumble around them.
Yeah.
Too, which is wild. Like you can only do it for so long, or things start to go pretty badly.
Well, and when and all they say to Adam Driver and the FBI guys is that you just feel good. You just get a sense of.
Yeah, nobody can really describe what
they can't describe what they see or what they feel. It just feels good.
One guy says, "I wouldn't even know where to begin."
Right.
Yeah, it's like it is like a rapture, right? It's a bliss.
Yeah, it's a spiritual awakening of some sort, or spiritual. You're being touched on a spiritual level that your brain just can't,
And you can understand how that could be perceived as some sort of sign of the Almighty, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. Especially if you are already religious. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
which again will come back. Which will come back later next week.
Yes, we will.
A lot. Yep.
Very quickly, just to kind of bring it up to speed, what we know is Alton only travels at night. He doesn't travel during the day. We don't know exactly why yet, but sunlight is bad for him.
Yeah, they have to block out the windows and everything with cardboard and stuff.
Yes, and there's a huge, an Amber Alert went out on him, so the FBI is chasing him, the cops are chasing him, everyone's chasing him. So Joel Edgerton is driving at night with the lights off with goggles on so he can see where he's going.
So cool, the night vision goggles.
It is. I wish they showed it. I wish they showed him driving with them, how it looked. But it was still, yeah.
And I love when he has to tilt and shield his goggles when headlights come near him.
Yes,
temporarily
that would blow him out.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're doing that. We know the FBI is following. We know the NSA is with the FBI. The ranch is trying to send that actor I really love. I can't remember his name.
Bill Camp.
Yeah, Bill Camp.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Camp after him.
Yeah, that's Doak and Levi are the two guys that they sent.
But he's been detained, so there is a bit of a lead that Tomlin gets with his kid out of there in Edgerton. They do have a run-in when Joel. I wish I could remember character names better than this, but anyways, Lucas, thank you. Lucas is driving, and he takes his goggles off. And the moment he takes his goggles off, there's just some drunk lady in the middle of the fucking road with her car. And we learn about him here because he stops, right? He stops. He's going to go help her, but then a truck drives through and sideswipes her, and he goes back to make sure she's okay. So you're like, okay, now I know these are pretty good guys.
Yeah.
Then they shoot a cop, and I'm like,
Yep.
I'm like, okay, that they probably had to do that because Michael Shannon is saying, or Tomlin is saying, Alton's more important than all of this.
Which is kind of true based on what experience you get from him. I buy it,
But you know that Roy is being altruistic, not an asshole, right? So
he's not a criminal, but but some criminality has to happen. Yeah.
But Lucas hesitates. He's got his gun drawn on the state trooper, and the state trooper's got his gun drawn on him, and it's kind of a standoff. The state trooper doesn't have his gun drawn yet, I don't believe.
I think he's trying to call it in, and then
but I think he does move for his weapon or something. I can't exactly remember, and he kind of leaves Lucas no choice but to shoot him, and he shoots him in the chest 2 or 3 times. You find out he had a vest on, but Lucas isn't too happy about having to be put in that situation, and he confronts Roy about it later at the house that they end up at. He's He said it didn't have to go down the way it went down. I'm with Alton till the end. I'm in this for Alton, but you need to stay out of my way. Right? It's like, oh, okay, what's happening here? Like, I love it because you're just like, who is this guy? Why is he even with them at this point, right? Because you don't know.
Why is he such a badass?
Until later. And yeah,
Right.
he's a total badass, and he's
and
just doesn't-
incredibly
he doesn't seem
capable
to
in
fit.
a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good driver. He's got night vision goggles. When they
He's a police
get
scanner.
when he gets to Sarah's, he is working on the truck. So he's like multi-capable.
Right.
Yeah.
But the first place I go to is what's his name? Is that
Eldon's.
Eldon?
Yeah, Eldon. Eldon and Alton. You can tell these are religious folks.
Yeah.
One real quick thing I do want to kind of go back with. They do mention that Alton, quote unquote, speaks in tongues. Sometimes other languages he's never learned. Sometimes languages that nobody can comprehend what it was. And that's how Calvin got the numbers to incorporate into his sermons.
Yes.
Was through that. So he was just like, it just seems like sometimes he just will start blurting out some sort of language or something, and I don't know if we actually see him speak in an unrecognizable language, but yeah, certainly in the car at one point, the Mexican radio station starts playing. He starts matching exactly what's being said at the time that is, like you said, Chuck, he is getting it. He is getting the transmission at the same time as
the radio isn't even on, and he's talking about it, and then they find the station and match up what he's saying. But speaking in tongues, right? Another religious kind of thing is what he does, which would allude to the Almighty.
And the other thing, I'm just kind of thinking about this, maybe even to give the ranch a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. And trust me, guys, this hurts. But it's possible that, when somebody is fucking around with speaking in tongues, right? Like you can tell when somebody is playing it up. But what would happen if you can't tell if somebody's playing it or it seems more real than it is? And I bet that would also have an effect on people too, not just the connection, but they may honestly believe.
Not they do.
Well, they do, but
They
do. But you can understand their true belief if this kid is really honestly giving this information that they can't perceive.
If you can believe in Roy Tomlin, you can believe in the ranch because they're theoretically doing the same thing. The only difference is Roy is doing for Alton,
right?
Where the ranch is doing for everyone.
Sure.
Yeah, they're doing for themselves. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, in a way, it kind of it eases the hook a little bit on the ranch being necessarily bad guys. They do some not great things, like they're doing things for themselves. Calvin says that the mother abandoned him, which we do find out technically she kind of does or did, but not necessarily in the way that we.
I don't know what you're talking yourself into here, but if they killed Sarah's mom, they're not good people.
No, but that could be the people that he sent after. They may not be ranch people.
No, they're ranch people.
They're ranch people.
Oh, yeah, were they? Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the one guy, my dude, he even talks to himself. He's like, I'm a plumber. I can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. No, I mean, and I'm not really necessarily talking. I'm talking more about what the things the same shepherd says. I don't know if he's necality.
Stay away from cult leaders, Jeff. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, no, that's
in a cult, dude.
No,
Dope also says sometimes we're asked to do things that are beyond us.
Yeah,
which is cool. But yeah, I get you, Jeff. I get you.
No, I mean, and yeah, it's like I don't want to take them all because again, we don't get enough from them to know what the entirety of the ranch is entirely about. That's why I kind of would like to see more from that.
To me, the ranch represents like the perversion of like a healthy spiritual belief system, right?
Whereas Tomlin is much
something we've
more
got a whole hell of a lot of in this world right now.
Sure.
Well,
not necessarily in this world, in this country. Europe doesn't want to, doesn't cotton to that.
But Roy is he's more enlightened, I guess.
Roy
he's
is a little bit more
He's
pure.
selfless in his belief.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to talk about in terms of Christianity, he's a true Christian, whereas these other people are looking out for themselves. They want to manipulate their Messiah for their own.
And the NSA's like, how the fuck did you get the Bible?
We've been transmitting the Bible secretly for years.
Well, I mean, and certainly I can see, I can also agree that Pastor Calvin is being more selfish. I don't know if the one lady who was interviewed that we saw, like, I don't know how much of a bad guy she technically is.
Oh, forget them. Forget them. They're you who believe in what Sam Shepard is doing.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I just like Sam Shepard, guys. I don't know.
They have a double whammy going on.
Sure.
They have Alton, who has let them see total bliss, right? And they have a charismatic cult leader who is doing all the interpreting.
Yeah, and their connection to all of them.
He's distorting the message. Whereas Roy, I think, recognizes that. He's like, we don't know what the hell any of this is. So what are you doing assigning meaning to it? I'm putting words in Roy's mouth, but this is what I believe.
Well, Roy does not seem like a true blue member of that group.
And to Roy's like, this is my son.
Yeah.
These are two things I know for sure, a date and a location. And I need to make sure that Alton safely reaches that place at that time, and maybe we'll figure out legitimately what's going on. He knows his son is special. He just doesn't know why, and he's not going to let some fuckhead who adopts his son through probably some nefarious means tell him who his son is. Right?
Sure, right.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way: that it's a cult, so he's also adopting many, many wives.
Oh,
which
yes.
So all of that stuff is just going to happen, right? Like that's like, and yeah, it's going to be a bummer if you're not really signed up for it. It's like get your paws off my kid.
Yeah, but like you said, Tomlin and Lucas end up at Eldon's house. And Eldon has taken the coordinates that Tomlin sent him and isolated the place that they're referring to. The coordinates are referring to.
Yes.
Also, another connection to next week, Florida Panhandle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And another thing,
just a brief connection next week, but still, yeah.
An important thing that Alton asks Eldon before he falls asleep is, do you miss the ranch? And Eldon's like, yeah, of course I miss the ranch. And something stupid that Tomlin does in this movie twice, and I'm like, what the fuck is your problem? He leaves the kid alone.
Yeah.
In his own room.
Yeah.
And he wakes up mid-afternoon or mid-morning or whatever, and the house is shaking. And immediately he's like, Alton. And he runs in, and this is when we get our first show of Alton giving the message or whatever he's transferring to someone else. The house is falling apart. Blue beams of light are going into Eldon's eyes. And in order to break it up, Alton has to hit, or not Alton, Roy has to hit Eldon over the head with a lamp to knock him out. And then they're like, we got to get the fuck out of here. Like, but
this is literally the title of the movie. He's shining the light on him.
Right. Exactly.
It's the midnight special.
It's exactly
which is I don't love that, but it is what it is. It's like I'm not a big fan of the title of this movie.
I want to mention I like the title of this movie because
I like the song.
It's
I
a
don't
double,
like the,
but it's a double meaning too, though.
yeah,
Go ahead, Jason.
and
Go ahead.
it lends a little mystery, right? What I was going to say is there's something that Eldon says that I found interesting. He talks about ley lines
Yep.
right before Roy cuts him off and says, "I'm tired." And ley lines are probably a pretty big clue to actually what's going on here, right? Because he's doing some coordinate math, and they're matching up with known ley lines that people have discovered, whether it's pseudoscience, pseudo-archaeological science, but basically people throughout history have looked at the locations of major landmarks, man-made landmarks, and have drawn these arbitrary lines to connect them that they claim is a clue of some sort of like prehistorical extraterrestrial entity, that those lines somehow connect parts of the earth, and they may form or make up a kind of like a landing zone or something like that, right? Like there's all sorts of like ancient alien
it can
shit
also play
assigned
into
to ley lines. Yeah, go ahead.
it can also play into like hauntings and stuff like that.
Yes.
Buildings that are haunted, most people say, well, it's only, this many feet from a ley line, or,
Right.
it's anywhere from 2 feet from a ley line to 4,700 miles from a ley line. They'll make up the reason why it's haunted. Zach Baggins will do that,
But
Again, a ley line.
That starts
During-
to like I think things are real interesting when you see the ending of the movie, though, right? It's like, oh
Yep.
wow, that's fascinating. Yeah,
Oh yeah. I mean, yes.
it's kind of like one little throwaway line that is kind of the answer to everything.
yeah.
I wrote that down and was going to look them up, and I forgot. But again, even in that clue, right? You have science and faith, because hauntings are faith, and aliens would be a scientific.
And then like pseudoscience, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Well, pseudoscience is mostly built around paranormal faith in things.
right,
So,
yeah.
which is what Chuck was saying. Yeah.
It's basically like it's trying to assign proof to a thing that is paranormal or extraterrestrial or spiritual.
It's the I have a God, I force you to make it work.
Yeah. It's the
it's
equivalent
working
of the child
backwards.
jamming a square peg and doing
It's working backwards from the so it's like, I believe in ghosts, so how can I believe in that? Oh, well, ley lines could work, or it's working backwards from the conclusion.
It's trying to assign meaningless things to prove something that may or may not exist.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's interesting. It is interesting because the idea of ley lines have been around for a long time.
It's almost like these movies we're watching lately know how to movie by throwing something in that you then think about later, and you realize, oh, huh,
Yeah.
there it is.
Yeah, that's pretty clever. That's pretty clever movie. Yeah.
Bunch of that next week too.
Yep.
Yep.
But where are we, Chuck? Where are we? Sorry. We're still at
No,
Eldon.
Yeah,
Eldon
Eldon.
has had another vision. Yeah.
Oh, and they decide we got to go. We got to get out of here. I can't leave my son here with somebody who is addicted to the thing that he does, right? Which is what it kind of comes off as, right? Yeah. So they
and the
leave.
thing that he does is not good for Alton, it seems. And it also creates quite a disturbance geographically, so it's going to lead people to them. Yeah.
Right. So because also that's when we know that they can pick this shit up on satellite. That's how much power he's kind of using. It's like wow. Adam Driver never says exactly what it is. He just says it's not a heat signature. But the
Not
FBI is
a
like,
heat
whatever. Can you do this heat signature thing? Which I chuckled at that. It's like, what? I don't care what it's called.
But another moment with Roy here, when they leave, you're
Yes,
led to
that's
believe
what-
that he kills Eldon.
Yeah,
Right.
because he's like, you don't have to do, and Eldon believes that that's what's going to happen. He's like, you don't have to do, and he's like, where we're going. It's like,
Right.
this is,
Roy
this
would
is a
be right to
problem.
cover their tracks here.
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah,
It will.
or the boy.
especially
Lucas
considering
probably
what
would.
happens.
Yeah. And Lucas probably would.
No, he absolutely would not. That's why Eldon or Roy sends him outside.
Yeah.
So he
Oh,
can.
yeah.
Lucas
So
would
he
have a much
can do
harder
it.
time with this. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're kind of at this point getting the sense that Roy is going to do anything
Whatever it
to
takes.
protect his son,
Yeah.
whatever
Yep.
it takes. Yep.
Yep.
Which is, that's a whole nother, and that's another part of this movie where it's like, this is like the lengths that a parent would go to, for their child or,
We'd go to all the lengths, Jeff, all
Yep.
of them. But from there, it's just another road trip, right? They have to wait till night again at this point, and this time they're traveling to what we find out is to see Sarah.
Yeah.
yes. And this
There's
is
a
when they
pretty big
stop.
happening. Pretty big happening on. I'm getting there.
Okay.
There's a pretty big happening on the way there because they need gas.
Yep. And supplies.
And supplies. And Joel, or to get right, Lucas is like, you stay in the car because the less people that see you, the better. Because the only person they know for sure has Elton. Nobody has a picture of Elton. Nobody has a picture of Lucas, but people know who Roy is.
Yeah.
So he's the only recognizable figure in this group. But then Roy's like, I got to make a call. Like, I have to make a call. And Lucas is like, fine. So Lucas goes in. Roy goes to make his call, and he tells Elton to stay in the car. Something catches Elton's attention, and he walks out and just kind of starts wandering across the parking lot of this huge truck stop gas station, right? It's one of those huge ones. And you can see him looking up in the sky, and you can see kind of lights like blinking, slight lights blinking while Roy is on the phone. Some woman walks up and asks the boy if he's okay, and she's about to take his glasses off.
Yeah. She's like, why are you wearing those goggles? What's going on with those goggles? It's like, damn, Large
what's wrong
Marge.
with you, woman?
Yeah.
Karen, just chill. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. he said he's okay, I think. I don't know. Leave the kid alone. But then Roy notices and runs across the parking lot, and he starts yelling, like you mentioned earlier, Jeff, really loudly, like, don't you ever leave the van. And Elton's like, I'm sorry. He's like, oh, it's okay, buddy. I love you. He's like, no, Dad, I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden, fucking hell starts raining on Earth. That's in my opinion, the coolest scene in this movie. It looks so good. And it's basically like destroying everything. We don't know exactly what it is at this point.
At this point, we think it's like, it's like, because when he says, no, Dad,
fire
I'm
and
sorry.
brimstone or something.
Well,
Yeah.
I was thinking it's like, he's an alien and his people are coming to get him. Those are the types of movies I watch where it's like, it's like he is hiding out and they've come, and it's because he's, it's like it's because of his power or whatever. No, he just brings down an NSA satellite.
Not that I'm any more religious than not. No, sorry, Jason. 1 second. My apologies. Not that I'm any more religious than I am like into like sci-fi, but I wonder like if your proclivities, if that's the right word, like which way you lean is how you read that scene.
Oh yeah, I'm reading comic books and watching Star Trek and Star Wars. That shit is aliens coming to get the kid.
Most definitely.
Not hellfire.
If you believe this kid is truly from heaven or God or Jesus or whatever you want to call it,
fallen angel, something like that.
Yeah, it's like he's bringing upon one of the signs of the apocalypse in this moment, right?
Yeah.
It's and he has maybe he has control, maybe he doesn't have control over it. I kind of get the sense that there's something working through him that he doesn't understand. that is bringing about these events. And yeah, at this point, it could go a lot of different ways, but Book of Revelation is certainly fucking one of them, right? Yeah.
See, I didn't read no Bible. I'm just thinking it's like, oh my God, Zod's coming. Wait, Zod's right there. Anyway.
Well,
that's funny.
you also probably recognize the fact that if he were, Jesus come again, that this probably wouldn't be a movie we'd be talking about. It'd be like Left Behind Part 6 and wouldn't be on the podcast.
Well, we could make that into a bad movie night. Anyway.
Well, that's fair, but
I could bring my banana to explain shit to you guys.
But yeah, sit this movie in front of like
Roy
just
Comfort.
a random person on the street and not knowing their exposure to like storytelling like we do, or their belief system. Yeah, I mean, they might be thinking, "Hey, this is a Jesus movie."
Let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. If I'm not watching a movie that I know is at least masked in sci-fi, which I think it's a little bit more than, this is a little bit more of a fantasy movie than sci-fi, but it certainly wears the sci-fi cloak pretty well for most of this movie. If I were standing there at that truck stop and shit's raining down from the sky on fire, I probably would have a different, but I'm watching a movie and I'm thinking, oh, maybe he's an alien and they've come for him or something.
My immediate thought would be meteor shower or something, right? I mean,
yeah.
Oh yeah, or I guess we blew up another space shuttle. Yeah,
but anyway, it looks fucking rad.
Yeah, it is. It's a good scene. It's a good action scene.
But Elton's ears start bleeding and his nose starts bleeding, and Lucas is like, "We need to take this kid to a fucking hospital. He's dying." And Roy's like, "No, he's fine. He's gonna be fine." And then they get to Sarah's house, who we find out, if you didn't know already, is his mom. I don't even know how to describe this scene. It's kind of cute, but it's kind of sad. Like, Roy and Sarah obviously still have some love for one another, right? Because they're holding hands, but they have this boy who is a miracle, right? If you want to call him a miracle or whatever, or like he destroyed their family without doing a thing in his control, right? So it's really kind of just sad. And you have Lucas in the background cleaning his gun, but also kind of sad, looking at them and chuckling. And I'm like, God, I love that man. I want a Lucas. I want a Lucas in my life. Don't you guys want a Lucas in your life? Just some guy that you show up in his door and be like, I need help. And he'll take you on the road and murder everything that's in your way.
Well, wait a minute. Wait. Are neither of you my Lucas? No. Holy shit. I better get some new co-hosts then.
It's just a friend who, we all have that friend, right? But we'll do what is necessary to help you within reason.
Well, sure. I don't know about gunning down cops or nothing.
He's being asked to do some pretty extraordinary things, but it's not just because he was asked. It's because Alton asked in the way that only Alton can ask.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't expect any of you guys to shoot a cop for me unless it was warranted.
Sure, I guess.
First I'd have to get a gun.
Yeah. True. All right, let's move beyond this. But then they leave the fucking boy in his room alone again. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Don't leave him. Because they do a pretty good job of even Sarah is questionable here. Like, I don't know. I almost feel like she could turn them in for some reason because she doesn't want to deal with this shit.
Yeah, we don't fully know entirely what her story is. She still looks like she's part of the, of the cult because she still
has the braid.
Has the braid. She still kind of dresses like a Pentecostal lady. But yeah, there is a point where she does say, I just simply missed him. And it's like that starts to kind of, you start to realize like this is a 2-part escape plan, I think, from the cult.
Yeah. Yes. I could see that at this point for sure. What was I going to say? Around the same time, or maybe slightly before this, the cult members are let go by the FBI and the NSA, which lets loose the two characters, Doak and Levi,
Doak
I think
and
we said.
Levi.
Yeah, Doak and Levi to start following the trail. At the same time, the NSA and the FBI has made its way to where the incident occurred at the gas station. And what they have found is that a satellite has been brought down, a satellite that was used to track nuclear
Explosions.
or events, or what, like it's looking for large amounts of radiation or something. I don't know. But there's no
the way I
radiation
think they said it was explosions so that they can track who's testing nuclear weapons.
I guess. I mean, I would think if you had the explosion, it would be too late, but I don't know.
Well, but that's how we know, like, that North Korea tests a nuclear warhead. I mean, there are ways to detect that. Yeah,
but this thing,
the radiation,
detects the boy. It's supposed to detect nuclear reactions, but it detects the boy.
right?
And Alden just wasn't having it, so he brought that fucking thing down because they were chasing him. Is basically what happens, and that's when we have that cool line where he's Adam Driver's character is like, "But what about the interviews?" He's like, "No, you know, you're the expert on Alden now. You're with us. Sorry about that shit," which ends up being a good thing for Alden, right? Because this guy is like the only one who kind of understands what Elton could be going through. Like, this kid is receiving and deciphering satellite fucking transmissions. So something is up with this kid, right? And he's gotten the description from the other people that he can impart knowledge or impart joy or impart whatever he's imparting in his Blue Eye Midnight Special action to people. Right after that, this is when Roy, Lucas, Sarah, and Alton switch to her truck. After we find out that Lucas is a fucking state trooper.
Mm-hmm.
And a pretty damn good reveal scene. Sarah asks him, like, what do you do? He's like, oh, state trooper. Like, all matter of fact, and just walks away from her. And it's kind of like, oh shit. Because I forgot that's what he did. And I'm like, everything makes sense now, but it's really kind of crazy what he's doing because he's a state trooper. And then you think back to him having shot a state trooper and all that. You're like, damn, this is tragic for Lucas.
And why it's really affecting him. Yeah.
Yes.
Deeply. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. He's always got that look in his eyes that he's just like, he's either going to melt or fall apart or go crazy. What happens next, Jeff? You probably know what happens next from here when they go on the road.
Well, they hit the road again. They end up at a motel. And this is when, they're headed towards where they're going to stop, but Alton is getting sicker and sicker. So again, we got another ET. He's withering away. He's got really dark circles around his eyes. It's not good. He then or they stay at this place, but then the next morning he tells Roy that there's some place he's got to see the sun.
Well, hold on. I got this now. Sorry.
Yeah.
So they're driving down the road.
Oh yeah.
At night, and Elton starts to get sick, and his eyes are doing their blue eye thing through the glasses. He's starting to retch, and when he retches, the grass dies around him. Whatever the hell that is, it's super cool looking. But he tells Sarah and Roy that they're after me. They're coming, and they're like, who? And he points to the sky, and there's more lights, probably a helicopter or something. Yeah, it's a helicopter. And he's like, Lucas and Mom, you take the car. Get out of here. Dad, we have to go through here. And he takes them to some little alcove underground river thing under some bushes to where they are out of sight of the helicopter. And while he's weak and about to go to sleep, he's like, Dad, I have to see the sun tomorrow. His dad's like, no, that'll hurt you. He's like, Dad, I have to. That's a really good acting by the kid in this scene. Like the way he delivers that line, I'm like, yeah, he has to. I'll believe it. You better fucking take him out there. So Lucas and Sarah go to the hotel that they were trying to go to. And Roy and Elton are walking out basically into a field in the sun. And as they're getting out there, there's this big giant dome explosion, almost like a nuclear explosion, I guess, goes off around them. And you don't know what happens. It goes back to Lucas and Sarah, and they're sleeping. And then there's a knock on the door. He's like, it's still daylight. There's no fucking way. And they open the door, and it's Roy and Elton. And Roy's like, Elton has something to tell you.
Yeah, and he even like, I like that Elton even tells Lucas, like, you should sit down.
Yeah. Like, he's very adult, like they're the children in the room, not him.
Right.
I don't know if I love this part of the story necessarily, like what the explanation is, but it's okay enough.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is a interdimensional story. Basically, he says that there's a world that's built on top of this one,
and people live there.
And people live there. People like me, and that's what the date and the place is for him to do, which is basically to return to his people. Now, this is one of those things that y'all know me. I do appreciate an alternate world situation here, but especially one that is right on top and it's just vibrations away. Oh my God, I want to say it, but I'm not gonna. But let's just say the Flash will get there.
Oh my God.
But anyway, but the thing is that this is the one thing. It's like I like the idea of he belongs to another dimension. What I don't particularly like myself is, then how did he get here? How did Roy and Sarah have him? Now, I know that there's a little clue at the end, but that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, unless we want to change over to another universe and call them mutants. But I don't know. I don't know. This is where I feel like this is one of the glaring parts where it's like the resolution is kind of half baked, like the beginning was.
Well, this population is eternal, probably, right? They're probably eternal people, and their population probably grows rather slowly.
I would
and
think
maybe
so,
they do need to be born by humans and then transferred over, but who knows? Like, that's just one way I could explain it.
I mean, it is the Southeast, so who knows where they're getting the genes for that? But it covers the whole Southeast, so they must be picking up other people too.
But this is
come
like
on back home, everybody.
Yeah, him explaining the civilization that lives on top is the ley lines, right? Like what those places and where their constructions are and stuff are drawing people to them, right?
And then sightings of extraterrestrials, of haunted buildings, right?
It's really just these people coming through.
It's the shimmer of these people coming through,
yeah,
right.
Which is kind of cool.
It's very cool.
I mean, there's actually a pretty cool Doctor Who episode with that where people think they're talking to ghosts, but no, it's from another dimension, and they're about to be invaded by Cybermen, and it's kind of awesome.
Watch out for the Cybermen. But yes, I'm with you, Jeff.
Say what?
Watch out for the Cybermen. I'm with you on that, Jeff, though. It does, rankle me a little bit that we don't really get a good understanding of how he got there.
That's kind of what Mike Nichols does, though. He doesn't really explain. He goes more for feeling kind of a lot, it feels like.
I mean, I think that the ambiguity he does better in Take Shelter than he does here. Because yes, I agree also with Jeff about the little like I don't know the little twinkle at the end.
There's a little twinge there at the end. Yeah.
Further confuses it for me. You know, it doesn't make it ambiguous. It makes it like, huh?
Yeah, it's like him too. Wait, what? No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's
have a
kinda
read.
Like, it's
I
kind
have
of
a
like
read
tacking
on
something
that.
on. It's like tacking something on that
That's-
sort of undermines a lot of things that came before it.
That's why I kind of feel like it's like maybe this is a mutation sort of thing that this is happening through. But
My
I don't
read
know.
on that.
Could
My
be,
read
could
on
be.
that is that he's seen it.
That could be
Seen
too.
it, so
That could be
now
too.
he
Alright,
can
alright.
kind of tune into it because he's been in it.
I could go for
I could buy that.
I could go
buy
for
that.
Yeah,
I could buy that.
that's the best explanation for me. Like he didn't have it before, but now he doesn't have the power, but he can kind of tune into that frequency a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But
I'll-
I'm still kind of like, yeah, like, all right. So how did Alton end up here? Like, was it
How did we end up here?
an
Always explain that to us.
interdimensional pregnancy gone wrong? You know, like
Cosmic sperm.
Was there, yeah, or yeah, I was gonna even
Little-
say
little
like a
ghostly
vagina
sperm.
of the fourth dimension or something. You know, the womb of the fourth dimension.
Maybe
that
they
kind of
were
bled
on a-
together.
Maybe they were on a ley line when they did it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
Sex on ley lines. You'll have an Alton.
I mean, I mean, Kirsten Dunst is a pretty spectacular lady. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows?
She is. I love Kirsten Dunst. I love her. So
But-
now, go ahead, Jason, please.
They are. So now we've got the freaking guys. Doak and Levi.
Doak and Levi.
They've kind of gone on a trail in their investigation. They found Kirsten Dunst's mom.
It's a very,
And-
very Terminator moment here.
So Terminator, yeah. And you don't know what happens to her, but to get the sense it wasn't good. And they got the information they were looking for. Where does Sarah live? They get to Sarah's house. Could be a dead end, right? They don't really know where to go from there, other than they have the make and model of her car, and there's also a van in the driveway. The van is like an electrician's van or something like that.
Well, it's Eldon.
It's
But
registered to Eldon.
yes, and it's
Yeah.
Eldon's van, so it's very easily traced to Eldon. And this is where you start thinking, crap, what are they? Did Roy really kill Eldon or not? And turns out he didn't, because they show up, Eldon's still alive, and they're like, you're going to tell us where they're going. And you don't know, they don't show him get killed, right? I don't think they do. But
No,
it's
but I
heavily
assume they
implied.
killed them too.
It's
Yeah.
heavily implied, yeah. So it's like that moment of mercy, of compassion, of like weakness in a way, like the humanity that Roy doesn't want to relinquish, to go all the way there to do his mission for Alton is like bites him in the ass,
Yeah.
It's like, what's the message in that? Is it just, I kind of felt myself thinking, well, they get there in the end, right? And he doesn't have to kill his friend to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the way it should have been all along, right? Like if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and you can do it the right way to get there, but it's gonna make it harder. There's sort of like a trial and tribulation, like biblical thing there, right?
But there's also a karmic retribution for the people who did kill Eldon and Sarah's mom.
Yes. Well, yes.
That's the other side of the coin, right? Like they went all the way to try to get Eldon back, and it doesn't work for them.
That's
right?
a good point. That's
Yeah.
a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a flip of the coin there, but they
Bit
do.
of a morality tale kind of nestled in this movie,
Yeah, absolutely. Which is cool. It's cool. I like it. But yeah, while they're at the hotel, this is when Alton reveals who he is, and they're about to leave to make the final trek to the spot. And as Jason mentioned, Doak and Levi are there. And as soon as Lucas walks out of the building, he gets shot in the chest, falls down. Roy runs out to try to help. He gets shot like kind of in his clavicle or somewhere in his shoulder area.
Yeah.
He goes down. They both get zip tied, Lucas behind the back and Roy to the banister. I thought there was going to be the traditional window escape because I haven't seen this movie in a while from the hotel. Like they were going to jump out the hotel window in the back, but they were hiding in the
Shower.
shower.
She gets zip tied to the handrail, and they take off with Alton with a bag with a pillowcase over his head.
More ET shit.
Yep.
But Kirsten Dunst, Sarah is super strong. She rips that shit out of the wall.
Hey, mother strength, man.
Yeah, mother strength. She rips that shit out of the wall, which is cool that she's the one that frees everybody, because that's not typical, right, in a movie.
Oh yeah, because
she would have to be rescued.
You would figure that Lucas is, he's already going for his knife to cut the zip tie. It's like, oh, he's still going to be the badass here. No, she gets undone. She takes the knife, undoes Roy. Roy undoes her, and then they get Lucas. It's like, that's nice. Nice making sense there, because her hands are the only ones in front of her where she could do these things.
Yep. And I can only assume that, Jason, this is written the way it is here to answer your question, right, about doing things the right way or the wrong way, because there is a roadblock on an exit or on the highway, and if Doak and Levi get through that roadblock with Alton, they're never going to see him again, probably.
Right.
But they don't.
No, you see the car pulled over and everything is gone.
Yeah, before you see the car even pulled over, you see helicopters take off, and you're like, okay, Alton is in that fucking thing.
Yeah.
Right? He's in that thing. And then you see the truck with blood stains on the windows and everything. So the FBI just murdered Doak and Levi.
Well,
and
it was what it was it was the pillowcase, which because Doak got shot. And when he takes Alton, the blood gets on we see that right away. So it does look ghastly, but it is just the pillowcase that already had the blood on it.
No, I think the windows have blood on them too. Like they got shot, Doak and Levi. I could be wrong.
I don't remember seeing. I definitely remember seeing the pillowcase.
Well, we never see them again, so they're either dead or incarcerated forever.
Oh, they're probably in some sort of black site. They are mega incarcerated.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear that the FBI, NSA, and everybody in the government appears like it seems like military, like they're all looking for a boy, and the fact that they don't have the boy allows them to circumvent all of this. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So because the lineup that they have to slowly drive through.
Like a divine plan, if you will.
Yeah, kind of, because like nobody looks at Roy ever again, at least until the boy gets away, which that's kind of clever how he's able to kind of get out of that. But like when they're in this super long line with army and it's like, just waving people through the scene. And there is a thought there at one point, because they do pull over thinking, okay, how are we going to do this? And then they're like, hey, asshole, keep moving. And he's just, hey, asshole now. It's not like, hey, that's the guy that's on the news. So it's like,
right, because they're
invisible. Yeah, they're invisible at this
They already have the boy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But they're distraught. They kind of go back to like a strip mall parking lot where they sort of trying to regroup, repair their injuries, and just generally, like, at this point, Roy is despondent. He's like, I had one job and I failed Alton, right? I mean, what does he do from here? He's like a man without a purpose. So they're kind of just chilling, and meanwhile, we see where Alton is, and he has been, he's in a black site of some sort, military base, and he's being interrogated by a child psychologist who is a consultant for the FBI, I think is what she says, and she's trying to get Alton to answer some basic questions. He's just stonewalling her completely.
Yeah, I will only talk to Paul Sevier.
And then he says, I'll only talk to Paul Sevier. And Paul Sevier is Adam Driver's character. And he's like, "What, me?" Like, what?
Well, yeah, because he just walked into the room and it's like he doesn't know that guy's name. It's like
He doesn't
this
know
kid.
his name. He also doesn't know his like new NSA title, which he addresses him by.
Yeah,
So it's like, I like that little detail. It's like, oh
Yeah.
crap. So this kid has got some like mind reading powers probably, or he's just so like plugged into all the radio waves that he's able to decipher them and get the information he needs. Right?
that would be hell, right? To be plugged in that far to all of that shit, even just
totally.
brains, minds, the radio wave, all of it. Oh God, kill me.
Yeah, if you
Fucking
can't like
kill
turn
me.
it off.
Yeah,
Yeah. Constant noise.
yeah.
It's like the worst tinnitus in the world.
Oh yeah,
But but he basically he works his weird fourth dimensional magic on Paul Sevier.
yeah. Because
He,
then they call the because then when he says, "Yeah, I'm here. This is Paul," he's like, I will speak only to Paul Sevier," and so he's like, "Hey, everybody, get lost."
Everybody has to leave the room. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's when, and then smash cut to the parking lot. The phone booth rings, and all of them
All
are
of them.
ringing. Yeah, so it's like, so at this point, I mean, Michael Shannon's like, well, I guess that's for us. It's like, yeah, they're all ringing. I mean,
Yeah.
And he was about to walk into traffic. Pretty sure.
yes, yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. He's
Pretty despondent.
He's pretty upset.
He loses a little bit of faith in Alton in this moment though, because Alton can take care of himself, we find. Especially after he's had his
Realization of who
with
he
his,
is.
with his
Yeah.
people.
Sun
Yeah,
snack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once he his sun snack. And
Hey, that's very
understands his-
Superman too, right?
Understands his essence. Yeah.
The sun has recharged him, and yeah,
Yeah, it's like he's come from his
his Fortress of Solitude,
Fortress of Solitude.
his Marlon Brando video. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
I wish I had a Marlon Brando video
I
like.
have two dads. But yeah, so the call is from Paul Sevier. He says he gives them some coordinates. He's like, you got a pen? Gives them some coordinates. He's like, meet me here in 4
hours. Yeah.
Yeah. And they do. It's kind of like in a Florida swamp. It's outside of the zone, though, where they need to be. They don't really trust him, but Paul Sevier's like, he's seen the light, as they say. And he's like, he hands him over, no questions. His only thing is he wants to go with them. And they're like, nah.
Yeah, Roy just says no. And then he says, well, then he's like, well, can I have the handcuffs? And then he asks Lucas, like, do you mind punching me in the face?
Would it,
And
be,
he just
would it
kinda-
be too much to ask for you to punch me?
me.
Yeah.
And he
In the
just
face.
kind of looks at me. He's like, you know what? Never mind.
I kind of thought he was going to do it. I couldn't remember. Like he hesitates and then he walks away, and I thought he was just going to come up and like get him a good one right in the face, but he doesn't.
But honestly, it's like, this really, again, kind of shows you the character of these two guys, right? Because it's like they don't necessarily need to trust Adam Driver, but they don't want to hurt him. And
Yeah, but they also like hurting him could help him. Is
Well,
kind of
sure.
his point. So it's like,
but in the end, it didn't hurt him anyway. So it's
Well,
like,
I want to ask some questions about that after when we get there. But yeah.
We should be close. Let's get
we're
there.
getting there. We're
pretty
getting there.
close. I mean, they're trying to find the best way in, and there isn't one. Like Alton tells them essentially which road has the least amount of military, right? And they're like,
Yep.
that's the one we have to pick. Like there's
There's
no
6
other
guys there. It's like there's 100 guys over there. I'll take the 6 guys.
and there's a roadblock, and they're gonna try and shoot their way through the roadblock, but Alton tells them they can only return fire, so don't shoot at them. So they don't, but they hit the roadblock. It wrecks the truck. At this point, does he just leave? They just leave.
Yeah, they said we're close enough. Go, Sarah,
yeah.
Sarah,
So
and
They
Alton
drive
go.
away a little bit more, and then
Yeah.
And
Sarah
it's like
takes
we
all
will
the
draw
road.
them. We'll draw them off.
We'll draw
Yeah.
them away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what happens. Like Alton leads Sarah through the like the woodsy swamp
little
to where
marshes.
they've got to go.
Yeah.
The marshes. Yeah, thank you. And Roy and Lucas take off on a in their truck with, like, I think all 4 flat tires at this point. Just trying to basically try to stay on the road and draw the military away as far as possible, which they do. They're able to, like, draw them away
For long enough. Yep.
for long enough for Sarah and Alton to get to the clearing where they need to be, and it's like the big ass explosion happens, right?
It's kind of like Close Encounters ish here a little bit.
Yeah.
I think with the maybe not Close Encounters, but it did kind of remind me of that. There's a big explosion, then everyone in the area can see the infrastructure of the world that's built on top of our world.
And it's cool because it like intertwines with buildings, so it's like it's not.
It's almost like
there
moss,
and it's not there.
Yeah.
Like it hasn't damaged anything. It's just visible, right? Like this is the way the two worlds lay on each other, and now you can see it.
Because we can also see the figures come out of the trees, or what we think is they're coming out of they're not really, they're just walking. And there's no form to them really, so you don't really see anything about them, but that's, I mean, like, I would assume if we were in that world, they'd probably look a lot like people, because
they would appear like people, probably.
Yeah, probably because Alton looks like people, so it's like, yeah, they, but we only see kind of like ghostly, kind of almost liquid like forms of people.
It's light. They're light.
Yeah.
They're made of light, basically. But yeah, Lucas goes with them, and this kind of like event prevents Roy and Lucas from getting shot by the military FBI that's creeping up on them, because they're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And kind of
Fucking
saves their
Florida
life
is
too.
weird, man.
Yeah, Florida. But that's kind of it, right? Like,
Well, yeah. So there's a small wrap up, where like, we do see Lucas and Roy have been incarcerated. They get questioned. They want to know what happened to Sarah, because she was able to slip everything. We see Sarah is in like a truck stop bathroom, basically cutting off her braid. She's gonna dye her hair, and she's gonna go off wherever she can go,
And still look exactly like Kristen Dunst. But
always like, holy shit, that's Kirsten Dunst,
her picture was never on the news, though. So
that's true.
That's
I mean,
fair.
she just wants to have dark hair now, whatever. But that's what it looks like she's gonna go with, because she's got a little box of stuff. Anyway, but the so she's gonna, she's kind of starting a new life. Lucas is being questioned, and then in comes Paul, and they kind of have hey, we know you, we know each other, sort of thing. And then
I think
we see
Lucas
Roy.
might get off here. Lucas might be let go here.
Oh, possibly. Yeah, it's very possible that, but Roy is definitely in a prison. And he is kind of looking out at the sunset, and he gets a little twinkle in his eye. Jason, what's the twinkle in his eye?
it's like the glow in his eye that Alton would get before he would do his eye beam thing.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too, right? Maybe Roy is able to do the same thing Alton is able to do, and like get people to do what he wanted. So maybe that's his way out as well, right? I feel like he's got some sort of power maybe transferred to him, or it was always there latently.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know if I love it, but
this is a movie.
But what I don't really understand is frickin' Adam Driver Paul, because I mean, yeah, he was handcuffed, but what's his story? How did What's his
How did a
story
little
for like?
kid? How did a little kid get him? Yeah, it's like,
Well, they
yeah. Like,
know
what's
they
his
have
story?
they have the video,
I don't
right?
know. They didn't
Like,
because the video was manipulated. Remember, all the
right, but they
videos
have a
showed-
video of just Alton sitting there, so they know
Right.
the video's been manipulated.
Fair.
So it's kind of the reverse of next week.
yeah.
That the proof is in what they could see, not what they couldn't see.
Still though, to me, like I don't think they would just like put him back in charge of interviewing people. All right.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm not really sure. I think they would consider him compromised.
You would think, yeah, and maybe he's not an agent anymore. Maybe he's there to, I don't know, figure out a way to bust his ass out. I don't know. I mean, I don't
Maybe
know.
it's just a movie where there's this really complex world living on top of our world, and it doesn't matter why Paul Sevier still has a job.
That could be too. I will say this is one of those movies. It's kind of interesting, right? Because it's like this is one of those movies that I very much liked. I very much liked watching. Everything about the movie was perfectly fine, if not great. The story, I mean, yes, we have our little nitpicks. We've talked about the nitpicks, right? But still, like, it didn't derail the movie. The movie's fine. The performances are the best part of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there is a cool vibe. And like I said, from moment one to moment last, whatever the last moment is, I was into it. I was like, I'm here for this. That said, I don't know if I necessarily need to watch this movie again. It's like I liked it fine. But it's, it's like I would recommend it, but I got what I needed out of it, and I'm good. Does that make sense?
Sure, I think that's totally fine. I've seen it
that's
twice,
fair.
and I liked it both times.
Yeah, and I'm sure if I watched it again, I would enjoy. And if I'm flipping across the channels and it's on, it's like, oh, I'll check this out, for a few minutes at least, if not the rest of the way through. But yeah, it's not one that. It's kind of one of those interesting movies that it's like everything about it is good, but it's not one that I'm going to clamor to see again,
I watch very few movies more than once.
Sure. Most people do.
Very few. So I don't think it's odd that you're saying that. There's a select amount of movies that I've seen 50 times probably, but I think it's more an anomaly when people are like, I can watch this whenever.
Yeah, I watch every movie 3, 4, 5 times. Like, how do you live? How do you live?
Right. Like people that went to Titanic 7 times in a week, and I saw them each time they went to see it.
That was 21 hours of their life.
Yeah. New box of Kleenex every time.
Yeah.
I think honestly, not purposeful at all. This is kind of a. Does anyone have anything else to say about this movie?
Yeah, some really beautiful emotional moments in this movie between a father and a son. Just want to mention when Alton tells Roy he doesn't have to worry about him anymore. He says, I like worrying about you. He says, but you don't have to anymore. It's like, I'll always worry about you. That's the deal. It's like kind of a perfect encapsulation of
that's what parents.
Love,
yeah,
right?
that's parenting.
Yeah,
that led to a good conversation with me and Brinley. By the way, I won't go into detail, but she was like, "Why does anyone like worrying about their kid?" And I talked to her about the contract. Kind of like to worry is a weird thing to say. Mm-hmm. Have to worry is what a kid would understand. Like to worry is what an adult would understand.
Yeah.
Right. But we talked about that for a little while. But go ahead, Jason. Sorry to interrupt there.
No, it's great. It's good. It's awesome. That's kind of the whole point of how great and cool that line is, right?
Yeah.
And but then the look that they share, Roy and Alton, right before Sarah takes him to the location is just like, oh, it's so good. It's like they just both pretty much know it's going to be okay. It's like, oh, awesome. So cool.
Yeah, this was
it's their goodbye with a look, and it's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, and because it's with Sarah, he doesn't have to be angry for not being there, or you know what I mean? Like it's the mom is there instead, and it's like he took he went as far as he did, and he still has other work to be done to help this, and that's kind of part of that parenting thing too. Sometimes that gets split, right? I mean, it's as much as as much as both parents may want to be there for a certain thing, sometimes one takes care of something and the other is not there for whatever it is,
Right. I will say, Jason, you reminded me of this, bringing those moments up, is that as I was watching this with Brinley watching like the last 45 minutes, she didn't even see the first half of it. It reminded me of reading The Road by Cormac McCarthy the first time, but a more uplifting version of that. Like The Road is like all dread for the most part, like what you will do for your kid to survive with no hope. And this movie does have hope, like in what you will do for your child will actually benefit them. It's a really touching film on top of all that other stuff, for sure.
Yeah, that's why I described it to Susan as The Road meets E.T., right?
Oh, you did say The Road earlier, didn't you?
Yeah.
My bad. You're right.
No worries.
You're
We're on the same
100%
wavelength.
right.
That's why we're good for this.
Yep. Good stuff.
But yeah, definitely the same vibes.
And I was going to say, like, the nature of this film does lend very well to next week.
It does.
Sure does.
Like when I was watching it, I was thinking for the next week, I was like, oh my God, this is like too perfect.
One could say it's almost divine.
Yes.
It is. It is divine.
There is a divine plan for Film Seizure.
And his name is Chuck Moore.
Well, half of it is Chuck Moore. The other half is Jeff and Jason's been wanting to talk about this next one for a while.
Well, Chuck was asking us if we'd shoot at someone for him earlier. So
That is true. And I'd be like, no.
It's like, I'm going to take the better path, and we'll hopefully get there the same in a more difficult way.
Here's one thing I would do, Chuck. If you're on some sort of committee, if I'm on a committee to pick somebody to go to the outer space and meet aliens for the first time, and you're one of the selected people to interview, I will not ask you if you believe in God.
Okay,
How's
that's
that
a
sound?
good thing, because I was going to ask you if what you would do for me is talk with me about Contact next week.
Absolutely. So Contact is next week. So next Wednesday, 1997, Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey, Tom Skerritt, a whole bunch of people. Whole bunch of people. Yes. So Contact.
Rob Lowe playing himself, basically.
That's hilarious. Do you really think that's what Rob Lowe is like?
Well, I think that's what he believes.
Oh, fair. I was thinking his mannerisms are different, but yeah, I'm with you now.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's that is coming up next week. Robert Zemeckis. Yeah. Another good movie that we'll be talking about from 1997. How about that? Anyway, so that is next Wednesday. That is August 21st. Go to filmseizure.com to find where you can listen to that. You can also find where you can follow us on the various social media sites, where you can subscribe to get the podcast every week at the various podcast sites. In addition to that, on Monday, new Monster Mondays, I'm still doing the Borg episodes for Star Trek Next Generation, and talk about another good philosophical one. I, Borg is this week's episode, and try to figure out what to do with Hugh. Should they send him back as a weapon, or should they just let him figure out what to do with that newfound individuality? Right. That's what we're all asking here, right? That's all we want to know.
Some of us are asking that.
No, some of us are. Chuck, I know one of them is you. You're one of the people asking.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, so so that is next. That's on Monday on Monster Mondays. So same place, filmseizure.com. I screwed up last week, and so when it comes to what's that B movie enema, I told you the wrong weekend stuff. So anyway, you can listen to last weekend to find out that Brain of Blood is the review on Friday, and Warlords of the 21st Century is the episode of B-Movie Enema, the series, also known as Battle Truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty rocking movie. Anyway, so next week, Contact. Just roll up your sleeves because we got some more God and science to talk about. So until then, I'm Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.